Give you an edge in the high-tech job market of tomorrow. The Guard offers career training to take advantage of your skills in science, technology, engineering, and math that can help give you a leg up to a high-paying and rewarding STEM profession. Gain practical experience with emerging technology and equipment not found in the civilian world. The Army National Guard can get you started in an array of STEM-related career fields such as information technology, communication systems, special forces engineers, technical engineering, air traffic control, and chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear science. Get a head start on your career in an exciting new field while earning money to pay for college, all while serving in your own community. Log on to NationalGuard.com or talk to a recruiter in your area to learn about all of the STEM career opportunities available to you in the Army National Guard. Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Want to help pull the plug on cyber terrorists? Or get the skills to work with satellites and other space technology? How about learning the avionics inside stealth fighters? And do you want to reach your goals fast? You can do it and take your life to the next level in the Air National Guard. Because you serve part-time, you do it in a way that works for you. You can achieve your career and educational goals with plenty of time for family and friends. The Air Guard offers nearly 200 career specialties, so you'll get the high-tech skills you need to kick your career into high gear. You can also be eligible for college tuition assistance. The best part is, in the Air Guard, you'll be making a real difference by serving your community and country. So get your future off the ground in the Air National Guard. Call the Alabama Air National Guard at 1-800-TOGO-ANG or visit goang.com/AL.
I want that wall-crawling arachnid prosecuted! I want him strung up by his web! I want...
WEGL Auburn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM, Auburn's premier home for student-run radio since 1971. That's over 50 years now. Happy 50th, WEGL. I'm your host, Jack Hart, alongside my colorman Davis Carroll, joined by the incomparable Alex Houston and the one and only Daniel Locke joining us in the booth for the first time today. Welcome, Daniel, onto the show. We'd like to welcome in our listeners as well and viewers from around the Auburn-Opelika Megaplex and around the world, however you may be tuning in today, whether that be on your terrestrial radio antenna through the information superhighway at WEGLFM.com or tuning in after the fact by listening to our podcast or by watching us on Eagle Eye TV. We are happy to have you here in the booth with us for Auburn's only student-run drive time morning show. And now, as we are broadcasting live from the Bradley Basin WEGL studios in the Harold Melton Student Center on the campus of Auburn University, where it is a lovely 71 and drizzly outside this fine Thursday morning, we are welcoming you to Compact Discourse. We wish you a most sincere good morning as we finally get on with the show. Davis, how are we doing today? Making it?
Making it. Feels good outside.
Wearing your tiger shirt?
My sad tiger shirt. He looks really, really pensive today. You able to see that?
I can see it.
I mean the camera for the people at home.
We're on the high cam.
Okay,
Alex,
never mind.
How you feeling?
I'm doing pretty good. Very excited for another week of our weekend of college football. Just, it's exciting that it's back. I thought last year would be good and fine without the crowd, but really having this experience, it's just very exciting to watch and see it all, especially Auburn's game against Penn State. And there's a game going on tonight that's on a Thursday, but I'm not going to talk about that in extensive detail. But yeah, just excited for what's ahead.
Good to have sports back for real, ready to talk about some sports as we do on a Thursday here on Compact Discourse. And Daniel, welcome to the show. How are you doing this fine Thursday morning?
Thank you, Jack. I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate you having me on. I'm really loving Auburn so far. I'm glad I can be here when we have full crowds at Jordan Hare. I'm very excited to make the trip up to Happy Valley this weekend. I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. Well, I will be making that trip as well, and I think Jacob Hillman, who's coming on the show later, is making that trip as well. So we'll be sure to talk about that at length as we go on throughout the show. Bay Marks will also be joining us at 8:30 for another exciting episode of Uniform Factor, so get excited for that one. And if you're not already, be sure to check out our video live stream on the WEGL YouTube page to check out the visuals for that one. At this point, I would like to remind our audience that if at any point in the next 2 hours you feel so inclined to ask us a question, drop us a hot take, or in the highly unlikely event that we get something wrong, if you want to correct us, go ahead and call in at 334-844-9345. That's 334-844-WEGL on your touch-tone keypad. You can also shoot me a tweet at CDiscAU. That's at CDISCAU. And I'll be sure to get to that one as soon as I can, as well as the phone. So let me know if that green light is lighting up behind me. All right, well, we're going to get on with the show today. How are you guys feeling? Are you enthused about this weekend? I know we're going to get to sports, but are there any non-sports things you're excited about? I know me and Daniel are heading up to Penn State. How are you guys spending your weekend?
I have to broadcast a game on Saturday with Alex.
You get to broadcast a
Oh,
game
okay.
on
I
Saturday
get
with
to
Alex.
broadcast. Pardon me. And then after that, don't have anything else to do.
Good to hear. And then that game is at what time?
I don't actually remember.
I think it's 1:30 on Saturday.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Alex, the guy broadcasting it, play-by-play, doesn't know.
I'm working on my research right now, okay? I know what I'm doing.
All right, well, that's good to hear. So, yeah, we do have an exciting weekend of sports coming up right here on WEGL, as well as around the country. But you do want to check out both Auburn soccer and Auburn volleyball, which are playing this weekend. And you can be sure to listen to those on WEGL, which is the exclusive radio home of both of those sports, who are doing very well for themselves, I might add. Auburn volleyball still undefeated, and Auburn soccer with just a lone loss to the number one team in the country. So excellent performance by both of those teams, and the football team still undefeated as well, as they will be making their trip up to Pennsylvania this weekend. All right, let's get right into it. You guys feeling okay about the weather? The rain is here to stay. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the rain is going to persist until next Wednesday.
Wonderful.
I've managed to avoid it. Like yesterday, it wasn't too bad, and then today, there was no rain in the walk here, so that was pretty good. So it hasn't been as bad as it's those random torrential downpours of like the last 2 weeks. This has been mildly improved, at least based on my experience. But I don't know if other people have had bigger issues than that. But for me, it's been okay. So
I had to replace my laptop last week because it got caught in one.
okay,
But
that's.
Now we got a waterproof backpack and a new one, so we're all good.
Live and learn.
Live and learn.
I suppose that I don't. That's bad. Ouch.
Yeah.
So a few campus announcements we do want to bring to your attention. Auburn University has, of course, initiated a new scholarship initiative at Auburn to address accessibility for students. Auburn has announced a new scholarship and financial aid initiative called Ever Auburn that will make the Auburn experience accessible to deserving students who have the intellect, the drive, and the desire, but not necessarily the means to attend Auburn University. Bill Hardgrave, Provost and Senior Vice President of Academic Affairs, was quoted as saying, "Today we face a challenge that speaks directly to our core values of education, family, and concern for others. The essence of this initiative is access. We must provide a way for more talented, high-quality students to come to Auburn. We must help them because it's who we are, it's in our DNA, and it's who we've always been as a land-grant institution." So if you want more information about that, you can check out your This Week at AU email, or you can just head over to the university and look up the Ever Auburn initiative. All right, and some more campus notices. The Red Cross Blood Drive. Today is the last day of that one going on this week. So September 14th to 16th, the Red Cross Blood Drive is still available. Freshman Forum call-outs will be held tomorrow on September 17th. I believe WEGL stages, or Auburn stages rather, has been canceled this week, but that will be back next week due to the rain. So be on the lookout for that one. Follow WEGL_AU on Instagram if you are privy to that information. So no Auburn stages this week. Excuse me. Emerge at Auburn is kicking off Emerge Presents speaker series with Alex Sheen. That's coming up on September 30th. So be sure to check out that one on Emerge's AU Involved page if you are at all interested in that speaker series. Glamarata contracts are now open if you are interested in providing any kind of, if you have a student organization, you are eligible for a contract at the Glamarata, so go ahead and make your way over to that office or contact them by email if you are interested in making an appearance in the Auburn yearbook, making history. Do you have any fond memories of the Glamarata, Davis?
I recently found out there's a photo of me in the Glamarata that I posed for, which I don't remember happening freshman year.
How?
I just told you, Alex. I don't remember it. I got sent a picture of me with one of the people that work on the Glom, and no recollection. I think I got mind wiped like Men in Black.
Do you think one day in the future they won't even have to take pictures for the Glomerata? They can just, based off who they know is at the university, just digitally create them?
Would they have your ID photo? They could deep fake you. Get all the cameras around Auburn.
Nah, I'm thinking the next evolution is they do away with human photographers and just have drones flying around at random, snapping people in entirely candid photos because nobody's aware of what's happening. I think that, and then eventually.
I think deep fakes are cooler.
I mean, I said the. Never mind.
What? Whatever.
Alex, I was also in the Glom.
That's what I was about to ask because I knew Alex worked for it.
I didn't work for it. I was just in it.
Okay, you were in it. Oh, you were.
Like as in, there's a photo of me in one of the books.
Do you remember posing for it?
Yes. It was on Cater, the front porch of Cater. I was doing homework, and they're like, "Hey," and I was like, "Oh,
you're doing homework on Cater?"
Yeah.
Okay, weirdo.
What?
Typical Auburn student.
Strange place to do Auburn or homework.
Strange place to do what, Davis?
That's like one of those like stereotypical. You see it in the brochure for Auburn.
You see it in the Glomerata.
Doing homework on the. You were doing it. You didn't pose. You were doing homework there naturally.
Yeah.
Weirdo. I mean, you're like a brochure kid.
Got to change it up. I mean, I can't be doing homework at the apartment all the time.
And do it at the library.
I tried doing that at the library, but then I get distracted.
With
Panera.
What?
The mac and cheese really.
Yeah, I can't study because I'm just thinking about eating the You eat it once and then you're good.
And then I eat it again.
Alex, oh my god, I'm glad you have a good metabolism because you eat like a horse.
I'm totally kidding, but in reality, I don't know.
I know you're not. I've known you since high school, Alex. I know how you can eat.
Do we really want to get in a battle of this right now at this time? 8:13 in the morning, because
this is Jack's show.
I would say no.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
We'll have to punt on the eating like a horse discussion until next week.
You like a dog.
All right, so we are going to talk about sports coming up in the next segment. I believe we've got some NBA fans in the house, so we will be discussing some NBA news that is coming around in the offseason as we gear up for the NBA season to tip off next week. We've also got Thursday night football coming on tonight with Alex's beloved Team Redacted against the New York Giants. And then we've also got an entire slate of college football to discuss and preview for you, including Auburn versus Penn State coming up this Saturday evening. We've also got Bay Marks coming on in a few segments to discuss uniform factor with us. We've got a pretty exciting Thursday show, as they tend to be. So don't go anywhere. Compact Discourse will be right back after these messages. You're listening to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM, WeGLFM.com, and Eagle Eye TV.
Smith. You may know me from my work as Scuba, one of the hosts of the hit award-winning show Nerdcore on WEGL 91.1 FM. But what you may not know about me is that I'm a website enthusiast. That's why I'm here to tell you about WeGLFM.com. It's our hotspot on the web with live broadcast articles and more. It's like a gift that keeps on giving. Tune into your favorite shows at any time with a 24/7 online stream right on the homepage. And don't forget to check out the schedule for our station's full selection of music, sports, and talk shows. For the sports fans, there's articles aplenty covering all of the current events in football, basketball, and beyond. For those music fans, WEGL FM has got you covered. We have album and concert reviews and theme playlists for any mood. We even have live musical performances with WEGL Sessions. There's more than enough content here to keep you procrastinated when you really should be studying for that test. That's right, we know you've been slacking off. Get back to it, lazy. So, no matter what sound you're looking for, we've got it only on WeGLFM.com. That's WEGLFM.com and WEGL 91.1 FM, Auburn.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You could kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM, WEGLFM.com, or however you may be listening or watching us today. Thank you for sticking with us during the break, and be glad you're not in here in the booth with me having to hear Alex and Davis argue with each other. All right, we are jumping right into sports talk as we are wont to do on a Thursday morning, and we got some NBA fans in the house, so we're going to run down some hot NBA headlines that are coming on this offseason, including the new ruling that NBA coaches will be allowed to wear casual attire rather than suits during games for the first non-COVID season.
Wait, do all NBA coaches always wear suits?
Supposed to. That's the rule, but they didn't.
I thought Spoelstra does not traditionally wear suits for some reason.
He kind of does. He wears formal, like semi-formal, but now
I think you're allowed to wear like a tracksuit.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what Steve Nash did all season.
Okay, yeah. So, but now that's like an official thing where it's no longer going to be enforced. Is what you're saying?
Yes,
that's correct.
I mean, it's the second season.
Steve Nash can wear his tracksuit.
Good.
Good for him, I guess. I don't know.
So yeah, we're on this. Doesn't matter.
I mean, I never really cared, because that for some people that's been like a thing, but because people are like, oh man, like all the great college basketball coaches, for example, like wear it. I'm like, Bruce wears whatever he wants, and I mean nobody really cares. I never thought it really mattered.
Bruce always wears a suit, and he always takes off the jacket when he starts sweating.
But there's some games where Bruce would just wear the zip up jacket instead. I remember that.
I don't think. Polo.
Yeah, exactly. So for big games, Bruce wears the suit because he knows eyes are on him, and then he does the jacket thing, and people lose their minds. But it's not like an every game thing.
Okay.
I would say.
I guess I don't pay attention to Bruce as much as other people.
But it just depends. But again, Krzyzewski sometimes doesn't wear suit. It's it never was a big thing. So I'd be surprised if anybody actually has an issue with that.
People really get their bee in a bonnet about this in baseball.
Yeah.
When the managers don't wear the
team jersey,
even though they don't even have to.
Yeah,
it's old tradition. Let it die.
That's
Who
not.
cares?
Yeah, that's not surprised. The older the sport and the older the tradition, the more people are going to be mad when it's not.
They look goofy. I'll say it.
I'll say it's unique, so I kind of like it.
I will say it is both unique and they do look goofy. I think you guys can both be correct. Gabe Kapler, he looks fine. Dave Roberts, he looks fine. Dusty Baker, he can wear a hoodie for all I care. He doesn't need to be suiting up. I feel bad for the guy.
One time, Alex Cora, the manager of my beloved Boston Red Sox, in a spring training game wore a polo, I think, and people lost their minds over it. And I just remember, it's not a big deal. We're winning the game, and it's a spring training game. So I've just never really understood the big deal. Let people wear what they want.
Old head baseball fans.
I was about to say, when in doubt, if sports fans are angry about some old tradition with no point, it's probably baseball. That's just
old head baseball fans are objectively some of the most annoying fans. You can't hit a home run when you're up. No, you got to let the pitcher win. That's all it is.
He's not wrong.
I think there's an argument to be made.
There is an argument to be made, but you can be less annoying about it.
An argument to be made that
old head baseball fans are terrible.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so all right, I think I'm pro tracksuit in the NBA.
Yeah, do whatever you want. Who cares?
All right. Next piece of news is that there are vaccine mandates in place for NBA referees and for most team staff, but there will not be one for the players.
I'm going to be honest. I think that is I wonder why. I think there's two reasons they may not have done that. One is because referees are direct employees of the NBA, whereas the teams and the players on the teams are not. But you said it was team staff included, right? Or just NBA
Some
staff?
team staff.
Most team staff.
Okay, so in that case, then do you dare raise the argument that the only reason the NBA didn't do that is because the players have a platform to say no and the referees don't?
I think that and the fact that they can afford to replace a referee. They can't afford to replace LeBron James.
LeBron James will get vaxxed.
I mean, that
no,
was
but an example is
placeholder.
if you pick any of the top 15 players and pick one of them to say no, then you got a problem. Is what Jack is saying. Like not just a LeBron, but anybody.
I know. I agree with them. I'm just whatever.
But I think that's. I mean, I get that, but like that really, I don't know. That just kind of. I'm not gonna say it defeats the purpose necessarily, because it does certainly if you have more of a percentage of people in your vicinity vaccinated, as in team staff and referees. But it's almost like the only reason you're not doing it is because you know that there could be negative reaction from players and you want to avoid that. Seems like the wrong reason to not enforce it. I don't know. Like, I think, oh man, they'll be mad, therefore I won't enforce this thing. Seems rather, I don't know. Just I'd rather it be more uniform than anything else. Like. I mean, enforce it to everybody. I mean, I really think when in doubt, I don't think you lose many top players because that's a lot of money. Like, even if they don't want to, I think they do it. Like, we've seen that with people who have said one thing, but when their company forces them to do it, they will do it because they want to make that money. So I don't think that's big of an issue. And I think unless they asked the players and got like hey, we have this percentage that said no, it seems odd to me that they wouldn't without trying it. Because again, I really don't think many of the top guys would say no.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if they did have some kind of survey like that.
Or maybe they spoke to the PA.
Well, definitely there was negotiation with the
Chris
NBA
Paul?
Player Association. He's not the president anymore.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure it's Malcolm Brogdon now, with Grant Williams as the vice president.
I'm getting old. I don't know these people.
Grant Williams is the guy in the Celtics who Celtics fans sometimes like and then sometimes very much don't like.
He was one to play for.
Is that true, Daniel?
He played for Tennessee.
He played for Tennessee. He was really good at Tennessee, actually.
I don't like him.
Oh.
Personally.
I'm about to say we have a Celtics fan in the house, so that's good source.
I like him. I'll say it.
I guess there must have been, but I feel like most of the big players are vaccinated. Like Chris
CJ
Paul.
McCollum's the president now.
I don't know.
Andre Iguodala is the vice president. Harrison Barnes, the secretary treasurer.
There must be something that they heard from the NBA PA, and the NBA PA must have heard from players. If insert this player here, 3 or 4 guys who are big names said no, then the NBA PA probably has something to say.
Yeah, they'd have a problem on their hands.
Yeah.
All right, next piece of news is that Aaron Gordon agrees to a 4-year, $92 million contract extension with the Denver Nuggets.
I do have something else about the vaccine thing I just read, if you want to hear it.
Go ahead.
Roughly 85% of NBA players are vaccinated, and players who are unvaccinated will be held to stricter protocols, which include having lockers far from vaccinated teammates or having to eat, fly, and ride buses in different sections.
Which, again, so that begs the question of why not mandate it, because I think that would be additional motivation. But, again, they must have heard something.
Well, I'm sure, they're like, okay, you don't have to get it, but you also have to do all this. And they're like, okay, I'll go ahead and get it.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So
I don't want to be sentenced to the NBA leper colony.
And as for
they make an unvaccinated team.
As for that Aaron Gordon news, I don't know. There were times last year when he looked good and times last year when he did not look like he was worth anything close to $94 million.
I think his upside's worth that.
I mean, well, how long do you go in a player's career before you say the upside is done?
He was good with the Magic the whole time he was there.
Well, I mean,
and then he joins a team where he's not the number one guy, falters a little bit. He's still is good enough to lock him up for a while.
I mean, I don't know. I just specifically citing in the playoffs, but I mean, I guess I don't know. That's a good point. It's just I keep forgetting how big contracts are getting nowadays. Solomon Hill once got 4 years, $72 million. So 4 years, $94 million is, I guess, not nearly as bad. But yeah, I mean, the Nuggets, they clearly need to keep building and hope that this team takes the next step, which includes a healthy Jamal Murray. But we'll see.
I mean, the Nuggets have seemed like they've been almost there for the past.
They'll get there eventually.
5, 6, 7 years.
Jamal Murray can stay healthy, and they can get a good.
It's
a few more good bench players.
They've just been lacking a superstar. It seems like.
Oh, they got a superstar. Don't you worry about that. They have MVP.
Okay.
Is Jack not a fan of the Joker?
It depends on who's asking. All right.
Oh.
Moving on. We've got the Celtics offering multiple late first-round picks for Jeremy Grant.
Heck yeah. They didn't get it, obviously, but Jeremy Grant's a great player.
Where's Jeremy Grant right now again?
He's on the
in Detroit.
Pistons.
Yeah. I think that's that'd be a good trade for the Celtics, but I think the Pistons are going to wait for a first-round pick.
Well, I guess a lottery pick more like.
Yeah, sorry. Definitely higher because I think Grant.
They missed their chance to dump him at the deadline. They could have gotten more for him, but they wanted to hold on.
However, I would say, does Grant really fit with the Celtics already? I mean, Grant is...
He fits with anybody. He's a good defensive player, can rebound, and can also shoot. Put him on any team and he'll fit.
That's true, but then it just puts Tatum and Brown further up the, playing out of position already because, I think it's just a lot of big bodies at a certain point.
Not really. Jeremy Grant, power forward. Jaylen Brown can play shooting guard. Jason Tatum, small forward.
I like that.
Or either switch. You can also switch Jason Tatum and Jeremy Grant so they're similar heights.
I was about to say, what do you think about the trade?
I kind of wish it worked out. I like Jeremy Grant. I think he's a good player, and I think he'd be a good fit. But I guess that ship has sailed, so we got to look for something else now. But
I will say, is there a chance that they could go back and offer again?
They could.
That doesn't seem to
but
happen
if they
much
couldn't
often.
Get it. I doubt Danny Ainge stepped down, didn't he?
Brad Stevens now.
Yeah.
I doubt Brad Stevens would want to offer any more than that, so it's probably not going to go anywhere unless the Pistons get desperate.
Fair point.
I think they probably want to hold on to Jeremy Grant and see how long they can keep him with Cade Cunningham coming up.
That's a good point. I do think he'll be on the trade block if the Pistons torpedo again this year, because at that point they'll just get another lottery pick anyway.
All right, and your final piece of news for this segment is that John Wall and the Rockets have mutually agreed to part ways, and follow-up to that being that the Clippers, Heat, and the Pistons have all expressed some interest in acquiring John Wall. Big story of the offseason this week.
I think, the Heat will probably go for him, but they still have Victor Oladipo right now, so I'm not sure if that's the best pickup for them. It's just another mouth to feed on that team. I'm a big fan of John Wall, even though he's been down for a while since he initially ruptured his Achilles 3-4 years ago. I think it was 3.
It was a while ago.
And then he re-ruptured it at home, walking in his house, and he slipped or something. He just hasn't been the same since, but I don't think he's really had the chance to prove that he can be the same. Big John Wall fan here, even though he's paid a lot too much.
Last
Way too much.
year he did put up pretty decent numbers on the Rockets. It was inefficient, certainly only 40% from the field and 31% from 3, but still 20-7. He's certainly not as efficient as he was, and he was good for 20-10 earlier in his career, but if a team's looking for an additional piece, I think if you could trade for him and then restructure the contract, I think you really could have a decent piece, especially off the bench. I really think he could take not necessarily a Derrick Rose type of role because he's not nearly as great, I would say, scoring. But, I think he's definitely could be a piece for a restructured contract. But, of course, that's the biggest issue is he's getting paid $43 million a year and is one of the top 10 highest paid players, despite the fact that he's arguably not in the top 20. Not arguably, probably in. But, so I think definitely could, but I do wonder who will get him for that and who he'll be willing to restructure with, if at all. So,
Davis, can you tell me who John Wall has tattooed on his neck?
I would guess that is probably his mom, but I can look into it for you.
Yeah,
I'll tell you once we come back from commercial.
All right, well, Davis is going to research that. I've had about as much NBA news as I can stomach when a basketball is not being thrown around, and so when we get back, we will move on to something completely different. I think we got Bay Marks knocking on the door. Might want to come in here and talk a little uniform factor coming up in the next segment, but we shall see if that transpires. You're listening to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM and WeagleFM.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. I improved my credit score.
You're kidding, right?
No.
How are we supposed to be the bad boys of electro synth pop if you're out there being responsible? The band is about to be discovered. This is our year.
Yeah, you've been saying that for a while now.
You think anyone in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was worried about their credit score?
I never really thought that.
Of course they weren't. Rock stars aren't supposed to think about that kind of stuff. We're supposed to think about how many guitars we've smashed, write aggressively sensitive power ballads, start questionable fashion trends, tragically break up and blame creative differences.
All right. I thought maybe it was time to take control of my finances, Start using a budget, get out of debt, set some goals.
A budget? Debt? Set some goals? Listen, I knew that we'd have our creative differences, but I was hoping they'd involve a little more scandal.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cool time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Good morning, Auburn, and welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. I'm your host, Jack Hart, as always, joined alongside Alex Houston and Daniel Locke. Welcome to the show, Daniel, for his first time on. We've also got special guest Bay Mark sitting in the booth with us, getting ready to do some Uniform Factor, one of our favorite segments here on Compact Discourse. But it is, of course, the bottom of the hour, so we got to get to your 10-day weather report, or maybe just one day, as that's probably what's pertinent to you right now. We are looking at some steady light rain this morning here in Auburn, Alabama, maintaining a 75-degree temperature, 95% humidity, as you would expect here in September in Alabama. A bit windy as well, moving east-southeast, coming in at 8 miles per hour. Chance of rain is going to continue to be about 60% throughout the rest of the day, so just keep that raincoat or umbrella handy, and bring your galoshes if you haven't left the house yet. All right, we are looking at a little thunderstorm action coming up tonight and continuing thunderstorms throughout the weekend and on to next Wednesday. So we're in for a soggy weekend here on the plains if you're not making that trip up to Penn State this weekend. Also looking at a little bit of rain in State College as well, about a 50% chance of rain in Pennsylvania. So if you are making the trip up to Penn State, like me and Hillman and Daniel are, go ahead and pack that raincoat as well, but be sure to wear orange nonetheless as we try to spice up the whiteout a little bit by adding a little orange. All right, let's jump right into things. Let's see if I have my button for Uniform Factor. I forgot about it. Oh, here it is.
Now, form factor is a term I learned in my occupational safety and ergonomics class.
Does powder blue ever look bad, ever?
Absolutely not.
I can't name one team.
That's the worst helmet I've ever seen.
I mean, part of the fun of throwbacks is that we're all in on the joke that they look terrible.
Bird is awful, but the jerseys themselves are sick.
Dude, this is clean, man.
Hey, when they rocking these. Any thoughts on this Browns-Broncos matchup, Carter?
The game itself?
The uniforms. All right, and we love Uniform Factor here on Compact Discourse. Bay Marks, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I was wiping off my headset just now. It seemed like it was wet for some reason.
Like Davis got fluids on it.
Davis was a little nervous sitting in the seat. But I'm good. I'm glad to be back on Uniform Factor after a short absence. I did call into the show, though, last week. I had to make sure my once-a-week appearance was made.
That's right. You provided some vital information that the show so desperately needed at the time.
Well, I told Davis, he started singing the We Just Got a Letter song, and I just was driving at instant PTSD, so I had to.
Go ahead and check out the podcast if you don't know what we're talking about, or if you're a big Blues Clues fan, and that's the only teaser I'll give to that one. All right, we're jumping right into Uniform Factor. First up, oh, yeah, we got the Air Force Academy out of Colorado. They were rocking some uniforms based off a B-52 bomber this past weekend, and they look pretty awesome. They were black pants with kind of the confirmed kills you'd get on your plane. Every time you shoot something down, you get a plane painted on your plane. Well, they had that on their pants going down as the leg stripe, and that was an excellent detail, I might add. They had camo helmets with the United States Air Force roundel painted on to the helmets. And then they also had camo shoulders and some block lettering on those white jerseys. So wearing white at home, traditional for an early season game, and they had a kind of paint on the helmet as if it were a plane. You know, the name of the plane gets kind of scribbled on in cursive on the nose. They had that on the back of the helmet. One fun fact I'll add is that the United States Air Force roundel was originally just a white star on a blue field, but it was so similar to every other Air Force's roundel in World War II that they added the red and white stripes on the side to differentiate it from every other country. Because when you're shooting at a plane, you want to be sure you're hitting the right guy.
Was this the same game where they all carried out the American flags?
Well,
in honor
yes,
of 9/11?
yes, it was. It was last weekend. So
yeah, that was a great touch. But no, these uniforms, I mean, in my opinion, they look great. I love the contrasting colors for the Air Force. And like you said, let me make sure I'm looking at the same uni as you. Yes, I am. Sorry, we didn't prep for today's show by any means, but
as is tradition.
Yes, but I do love the helmets especially. I do think that those colors mix well, and I think the design overall matching those shoulder caps. Overall, a very clean look from the Air Force, which you typically get with whatever alternate uniforms they do come out with. But nonetheless, I really think they hit these on the mark. My only complaint would be some outlining with the numbers. I don't know how to feel about the numbers right now, but overall, I mean, these are probably 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I would say Nike really puts in the work with the service academies. They really put on a good show when it comes to the special uniforms, whether that be the Army-Navy game or just the Rangers uniforms they recently put out for the Army, or the Marine Corps uniforms they put out for the most recent Navy game. I think we'll probably get to those at some point, but I mean, I'd like to see even more, so we have even more to talk about. But Nike, who has made some suspect decisions in the college football world in the past few years, is really doing a great job with the service academies. I really quite like how it pulls so many elements off of the B-52. And then if you're watching our live stream, you can see the picture on the far left of the player lining up right in front of the B-52 on the campus of the Air Force Academy, and seeing how similar they appear, whether that be the black and brown color scheme, the numbering, matching the numbering on the plane, or just the roundel matching up perfectly. So, and it fits, with the air raid offense.
Yeah, it does. And, I mean, Air Force, I mean, again, that collaboration with Nike, as Jack mentioned, Nike always does do a good job with the several military schools that do participate in the college football world. And also, you can't really tell at first, but underneath the throat on the collar where normally a team puts a logo, they have a little hidden AF logo. At first glance, you might not see it, but I think that's a nice subtle touch right there on the collar, too. But that's just my opinion.
I mean,
how do you guys feel about these?
When in doubt, the Service Academy jerseys are always knocking it out of the park. These are not my favorite ever, because there are particular ones that Navy did where they had different ships on each helmet, which was really cool. That was a few years ago, but these are certainly up there. I really like the detail of the planes going along the legs. And I mean, I think, that's one of the things I would say, and I would commend Nike for, is they do a great job of balancing simplicity with making it very unique. They're not so simple like a Penn State or Alabama jersey where, it's been the same thing forever. They can do simplicity like this, but they can also make it very complex designs. And the Service Academy jerseys are always, I mean, you're always going to get 3 or 4 posts about them on ESPN, and it's always going to be worth it because they're always good. And this year was no exception again. So,
I really like the gloves. Those are really cool.
Yeah. If you can't see, the gloves are camo, and they're designed to kind of be held up in the triangle formation to catch the pass, and they sync up into a pretty cool camo pattern. So that is the Air Force Academy, what they wore last weekend again to honor 9/11. They put on some B-52 uniforms. So heading on to our next kit, we have got the Seattle Kraken. Now, the Seattle Kraken's jerseys were announced some time ago, but the reason I'm bringing this to your attention is that we are just a month away from the puck being dropped in Seattle for the first time in an NHL game, and for the first time, the Seattle Kraken jerseys are now available for sale. And I know this might have flown under your radar after the team was announced 2 years ago, but how exactly do we feel about this color scheme, this lettering, the name Kraken? I just kind of want to get your guys' opinions because we haven't talked about this on an episode yet.
Well, I want to hit all of those areas real quick because it is a new team. And when you're building a new team and their franchise and that brand, it's very you have to do a very diligent job of making sure what you're doing fits. Seattle Kraken, first of all. The name, 10 out of 10. Love the name. That's kind of a mascot name or a brand name for a team that we haven't ever really seen.
Mm-hmm. It fits the city.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's cool looking.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, nobody's ever heard anything like that. The color scheme, I will say this. No matter what sport it is, when a team uses that navy blue with like a lighter blue or even that tealish color they have all three of those with a trend of red.
That's double blue, as I like to call it.
Yes, double blues are very hard to pull off. They can either look really bad or you can make them look very nice.
Like the Charlotte Hornets, they have a very similar
The Hornets
design.
or the Grizzlies. I mean, and that's not just for basketball. There's several teams that do it. If you're from Birmingham, I always think about the Calera Eagles High School. That's a team that I always reference to, but I think they did a good job with this, and I think the reason it looks better than it would have been is with the red. I think that red is a nice subtle touch that kind of brings in those three different blues and that kind of a tealish color.
The red to offset the blue.
Exactly.
And then it's also the evil eye of the Kraken on the S logo, and like that S logo is awesome.
Oh no, for sure. And I think are those like not like tentacles maybe throughout the S?
They're evocative of tentacles.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think you should try to anatomically chart the Kraken onto the S, but I think it is a good logo nonetheless.
Yeah. I mean, the logo itself is great. The jerseys, I mean, they're awesome in itself too. Maybe I would have liked to see maybe something on the shoulders, but I don't know how traditional it is to see something on the shoulders of a hockey jersey. Y'all might know more about it than I do.
On these shoulders, you do have the alternate logo.
Okay.
Which is the anchor and the Space Needle kind of combined into
I see it now. Okay.
Single. So that's on each shoulder. Hockey jerseys will sometimes have a shoulder. Sometimes they'll have numbers on the shoulder. Sometimes they'll have asymmetric shoulders. So I think for a team, you can't crash the party immediately when you come in as an expansion franchise. You have to play by the rules for a little while before you get crazy.
Yeah.
Which we saw Vegas kind of toe the line of that one.
I was about to say.
But I think it's a safe choice, and I included this promotional picture of Eberle wearing the jersey just because I really love how the road jersey looks under that natural lighting. I have the pictures from Fanatics where you can buy the jerseys now for the first time, where it looks okay, but under that natural lighting, the way the white blends right into the teal, and then it's offset by the navy.
It's beautiful.
It looks fabulous.
Yeah, I was just about to say the
It's
away
going to look
jerseys
really
are great,
good
too.
under the lights in a hockey rink.
Yeah, floating on that white ice, it's gonna look awesome.
Yeah, I would just say, for me, like, I think the logo, in terms of, you certainly could have gone so much more complex with it, and I for one like complex logos, but I understand it's not as much practical. And for the majority, I would say their initial logo is perfect, and I really like their alternate incorporating the Space Needle. As for the color scheme, I personally don't like that color scheme in general, like the Grizzlies and Hornets. I never really liked how they did that. I always like when the Hornets wear their retro ones to completely avoid that color scheme entirely. But of teams with that, this is certainly the best rendition of it so far.
Yeah.
I mean, by far for me. And
it's not a super appealing color scheme by any means.
Like, I just think compared to the others, this one is, again, I think the red really brings it all together. And again, I just always loved the name. Once they announced the name, I was like, it's unique.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say with the colors, the point you're mentioning was we talk about it's hard to pull off the several different color blues, but you also rarely see any sporting teams having 4 different colors.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to pull off in a jersey without overkilling at least one of those colors.
Yeah. And I'd say they've done a pretty decent job so far with it. I mean, and I would say among all the teams with similar schemes, they're easily the best. It's not even really close to that. So I like them, and I really like the name. I think it's unique, and it definitely stands out in comparison to the named mascot after animal. I mean, this is very unique.
Mythical creature, a
Exactly.
scary one, a seafaring town.
Exactly.
It's a perfect fit.
What's the alcohol brand that's like the slogan's release the Kraken? They need some sort of sponsorship with
I'm
them.
sure they have one. I wouldn't doubt it.
I swear I've heard that before.
We can look into that over the break.
Yeah.
We're gonna Daniel, you have any thoughts on these?
I do. I love these a lot. One of my favorite Bruins players, Jeremy Lauzon, a defenseman, got signed by the Kraken or drafted in the expansion draft. So when his goes live later this week, I'm gonna pick it up because I'm going to see the Kraken play in Nashville in November. So I'd like to rock that during that game.
Sounds like y'all need to make a road trip
Awesome.
together.
You need to wear that on the show.
I
All right. We are going to head to a quick PSA break. Ooh, wow. We're going to head to a quick PSA break. And when we come back, Uniform Factor does continue. Baymarks is going to hang out with us for one more segment. We're going to get his takes on college football as well as we get ready to turn on the scoreboard later on this afternoon on WEGL. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after these messages.
as a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
El que San Jude no cobra ni un centavo para nosotros significa quitarnos todo ese estrés, esa preocupación y podernos enfocar en nuestra hija.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When St. Jude told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow. They pretty much have saved us.
It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, and now your focus is supporting this child.
There is not another hospital like St. Jude. The patient care is unmatchable. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult and trying personal problems every day on my TV show, but there's one problem that's just got me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. That's 1 in 5 kids who may not know where their next meal is coming from, despite the fact that there's more than enough healthy, nutritious food out there to feed them all. Now, I don't know about you, but that is unacceptable to me. Luckily, the Feeding America network of good people is out there collecting surplus food and giving hope to hungry children and their families at local food banks all across the country. But let's face it, they can't do it without your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
And welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. I'm your host, as always, Jack Carr, joined alongside Alex Houston and Daniel Locke, with special guest Bay Marks joining us for our favorite segment here on Compact Discourse, and that is, of course, Uniform Factor. Let's not waste any more time because we got a lot to get to and jump right back into things. I can pan over to the next one. Let's see what it is. Oh, there it is. We are talking the Winter Classic uniforms. Winter Classic, of course, a wonderful tradition going on in the NHL where every New Year's some teams will play outside, and that's pretty exciting in the NHL. I went to the 2020 Winter Classic in Dallas, Texas, where the Nashville Predators played the Dallas Stars. We talked about those jerseys back on the Extra Point, but let's talk about these jerseys right now.
I like them. I will say, at least, okay, I like the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, we'll start with the Minnesota Wild. If you're not watching the live stream, we will just say that the Minnesota Wild, the Winter Classic, is supposed to evoke the classicness of hockey, pond hockey, if you will. So these are they look like they're made out of flannel. They're very old-fashioned. This is what hockey sweaters used to look like, and they're intentionally kind of old-fashioned in their design. So Minneapolis, the Wild, going with their old red, green, and cream color scheme, which is extremely unique to the Wild. And then this jersey features the outline of Minnesota with the MN abbreviation, as well as the abbreviations for Minneapolis and St. Paul, as well as a logo that says State of Hockey, which is kind of Minnesota's thing, is being the state of hockey.
Yeah.
And I'll throw it back to Alex.
I really like them. I really one thing I enjoy is when you have these Winter Classic type games, these significant moments, and the teams go out of their way to make the jerseys unique. I really don't like teams falling back on, oh, it's just our design but mildly different. This is very different than any Wilds jersey you will find anywhere. And I really like that. And again, as you mentioned, all the very classic, touches to it. The State of Hockey, or I think is what you said that patch was on there.
Yeah, on the right side of the shorts.
Yeah, okay. I think that's a really cool idea, and certainly why not? Why not celebrate that? I really like them. They're simple, but they're very unique. And again, they're not like any other Wild jerseys you'll find. And I just really think it fits the theme and very much is what a team in this type of situation should do with their jerseys.
It's very evocative of old school hockey.
Exactly.
Which is the point. So great job. A+.
Yeah.
Looks like Christmas threw up all over it.
Fair enough.
That's their colors, though. In their defense, that's already the Wild's colors.
It could be red with green shoulders, and then it would really look like a Christmas
That's
bomb.
true. I think they definitely, going with the more green than red approach was the best option.
Not to knock on them. They look great overall. I mean, I don't have much to say. I mean, Alex kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, I like them too.
All right, so we're going to head over to the opponent of the Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild will be playing in Target Field, which is the Twins baseball stadium, the outdoor venue. That's on New Year's Day 2022. And yeah, here we got the St. Louis Blues are going to be squaring off against the Minnesota Wild, not Minneapolis Wild. And they're going to be wearing these, which are very evocative of other Blues jerseys, which I think Alex wants to get to.
I don't like them at all, and I really don't like how it doesn't change much. Even the Wild jerseys, the Wild logo is you can't find it on that jersey. And compared to this, the Blues logo, which is the one they have now, not their old logo or whatever, it's the one they still have, is on there. And I also am starting to get a really big problem with people like teams being obsessed with the not white but cream or bone. The St. Louis Rams, or not the Los Angeles Rams. I'm still mad about that one, but it's not as blue as most of the Blues jerseys are because their jerseys are traditionally a lot more colored than cream. But it's just boring.
All right, I will counterpoint you, Alex, and say that this is the old Blues logo because they've only ever had one logo.
Okay, I was wondering if they had. I wasn't certain of that.
And then I think. It's invited to evoke the 1960s era of the Blues. They looked a lot like this in the 60s, and the cream, and then you can't really see it in our pictures here, but if you were to hold one of these jerseys in your hand, you'd be able to see how flannel they appear to look. And I think that without exactly pulling, Minneapolis made the decision as not a historic hockey NHL town, rather, to not go with the North Stars look, to kind of pull from the old days of pre-NHL hockey. You had the St. Louis' decision to just pull from the history of their franchise, and I think the cream does make it look old. I mean, off-white you had to be off-white back in the day because of the technology wasn't there. That's what sweaters looked like, and
Fair.
So I think you do raise valid concerns, but I think at the same time, this is kind of a love letter to the St. Louis franchise as a whole.
That's okay. That's fair. I'll admit I did not know all the history on that. I'm not a very big hockey guy and did not know that. So that's certainly with all that in mind, I'll give them a lot more credit for it. I just think it is interesting because the Minnesota Wild, kind of compensated for the fact that they're not an old franchise, founded in the year 2000, while the Blues, 1967 team, and Minnesota. If you look at those years, you would assume Minnesota's the older team. You would assume they're like wearing the powder blue Minneapolis Lakers jersey that the Lakers still pull out from the 1940s.
Right.
And meanwhile, the Blues don't, which I guess that is of me not knowing as much information as I could have. But I still, even though the cream is an homage, I don't know. I feel like there could have been more done, and I think this is also an opportunity to, again, go with the Service Academy approach of making really unique approaches rather than just saying, hey, this is the retro jersey we already have. You know what I mean?
I think
that's just my big thing.
You saw that in the last Winter Classic that occurred again with the Predators in Dallas, two not historically hockey towns being in the South, and two very young franchises had to really reach and pull to find the inspiration for their uniforms, and they obviously did find some inspiration. I think the Nashville team, Nashville Predators, based theirs off the old Dixie Flyers, which was a minor league hockey team out of Nashville. So I do like how the Winter Classic is a deep dive into the history, and it really shows the care that Adidas is putting into these.
I will say I do appreciate the off-white. I think that kind of gives it the more throwback kind of look that they're looking for, so I'm fine with that. The most off-putting thing about these for me is the striping. I don't mind the striping. I love how the legs match the arms and the waist. But my problem is the striping across the collarbone and the back of the shoulders, how it does not match those stripings. And then on the pant leg, the striping going straight down, it's vertical, making it perpendicular to the striping going across the legs and across the waist and the arms. I think if you're going to go with the striping across the collarbone and the back of the shoulders, A, you got to make it the same striping. And then B, if you're going to do striping across the legs, it's got to match the striping on the top. I mean, making it perpendicular like that, in my opinion, from a design standpoint, does not flow well, and it kind of causes some obstruction there in the flow of the jersey. So I'm not a huge fan of them, but I can settle with them for the Winter Classic.
Fair enough.
That's the expertise take.
I was about to say, Bay, you are clearly the expert in this matter. That was good.
Close behind Jack.
All right, and we are going to move on to our last uniform of the day. These may be a bit divisive, but this is what Kansas is going to be wearing on homecoming against Texas Tech on October 2nd, I believe. So this is what Kansas is going to be wearing. These are throwbacks as well, but faux-backs in the sense that Kansas never technically wore these, but it is inspired by the history of the Kansas football program. I will bury the lead and say that I like these a lot just because I enjoy the double blue with the red offset, as we mentioned in the Kraken segment. And I also have never seen this they call it the bow tie logo of Kansas, and I think it's very, very cute to use the K and the U in that way. And for one game, I love these.
I've never seen that logo either.
I really like that
Is
logo.
that an actual, like...
I think so. I'm sure if you go through the history of university that's
actual
years
logo,
old, I'm sure that was used at some point.
Back before branding became such the lucrative business it is now, I think universities made logos left and right.
Is that a profile shot of a Jayhawk on the shoulder cap?
It is.
Yes.
Okay. They've worn that on their helmet before as well. So.
I like that, honestly. I've liked the use of because one thing I really have liked about this was kind of started with Boise back in like 2008 is, it was not just a small little, logo about the size of my fist stuck on the side of the helmet. It was like, having the mascot or the logo sort of overtake the helmet and be a bigger part of it. And Kansas followed suit with that with the Jayhawk. It is kind of a somewhat off-putting color in the bright red and gold of the beak, but I've always liked when they've done it like that, and I like it here on the shoulder just because, why not make it a bit more than just the basic, again, like, very small sticker on the side of the helmet, which what it used to be. It used to be the very small KU they just smack on the side of it, and that'd be the end of it. So I like it.
The helmet logo really reminds me of Kyrie Irving's branding.
It does. It really does.
I don't remember Kyrie Irving's logo, so now I got to Google that again.
Here's my deal with these. We talked about earlier with the double blues, and for this game, I think they provided a good showing of that. And we talked about earlier the red with the Kraken logo. I think Kansas did something similar here, just a little touch of red. And I think if they would have done a little more red on the helmet or even on the pants or stuff, I think that might have overkilled all of it. I really like just the 2 or 3 basic colors of just the 2 blues and a white. Overall, I really, really like these. I'm very stunned about that logo. I need to dig into the history books and see if I can find that anywhere else.
Yeah, I really like that logo too. The one thing, and I'm gonna be honest, it's grown on me quickly. I like these jerseys. I just am a bit. I wish there could be something better done about the numbers, because like the dark navy blue on the basically what is powder blue, I would say, or close to powder blue. I feel like it could have been done better. I don't know how necessarily.
I think the double outline was as probably good of an effort as they could have made.
I will say, considering the colors they have to work with, I don't know how, but I just think that's naturally going to be the one thing that kind of clashes. But the rest of it, I really like. I like the Kansas in big bold white letters across the top.
You have the double outlined numbers contrasted with just the single block letters.
Yeah, right. that's true. That's true. And again, I really like the helmets most of all. I really like that logo.
I just enjoy how these manage to be very simple, yet at the same time very complicated and detail-oriented.
Yeah.
I think
definitely
Adidas has done a great job. This got booted from last week or 2 weeks ago when we didn't get to this one, but combine that with what Arizona State, with Washington, all the Adidas jerseys we talked about at that segment, I think they've gone 5 for 5 so far this season.
I think what you just said about it's simple yet complex, I think the point to be made is when you first look at those, you think they're very simple, and it takes a longer glance to really know how detailed they are. I love them too. I'm on the same page.
Yeah, and I will say I really like a lot teams continue to innovate with their uniforms despite, this is going to sound odd, the state of their program, because there's a lot of teams that will still continue to find ways to be unique and be different, and Kansas being no exception to that fact. And I mean, I give teams props for that, because most universities will not put in money to a program that's already failing or going belly up like Kansas or like Akron, but those teams continue to just find ways to make themselves stand out, and I just give props to that, because you certainly could be easier and just not do anything about it, and they still clearly are going at it, trying to make it, or at least improve and find new designs and just make themselves unique in their own way, so I like it. But, yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Daniel.
Do y'all think uniforms affect recruiting at all?
I think I think in the sense, like, a lot of people when asked that question will probably talk about Oregon. Like, a lot of recruits are going to see that Oregon gets literally a new jersey every game, so they're like, yeah, I want that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as huge an effect as people may think, but I definitely think it's a factor when people go to schools and see, like, the tough colors of, like, a Mississippi State and they see their jerseys or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think so a little bit, but I don't think it's a huge factor.
I think it doesn't make an impact on the recruit directly, but it does get your program exposure. Like
Right.
we're talking about Kansas, a team that stormed the field
Exactly.
after beating South Dakota. So.
Yeah.
And again, I would say I think for programs that are falling behind, if their jerseys are falling behind too, that just hurts their credibility further. If they don't look unique and look like even Akron, like their old uniforms used to be terrible, and we saw them play Auburn this year, and they had the cursive name on the brighter gold helmet, just changing up a bit to where they're not so fallen behind, because that's what happens with those teams. You're already like, all right, they're behind these teams in terms of performance and also in terms of just simply the money that they've put in the facilities they have. And I think it just helps their reputation be better than what they put out on the field specifically.
All right, well, we're going to head to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get talking about college football because it is Thursday and college football is just a few short hours away. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more Compact Discourse after these messages.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
El que San Jude no cobra ni un centavo para nosotros significa quitarnos todo ese estrés, esa preocupación y podernos enfocar en nuestra hija.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When St. Jude told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow, they pretty much have saved us.
It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, and now your focus is supporting this child.
There is not another hospital like St. Jude. The patient care is unmatchable. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
It's the top of the hour, about 9 a.m., and you're still listening to WEGL 91.1 FM. Well, you made it this far. Go get yourself a cup of coffee. You've earned it.
But I really need a cup of joe, and if I don't get one, I think I might blow a gasket, and it's not a pretty sight.
We'll be right back in a few minutes with the second half of the show. Thank you so much for listening to Compact Discourse.
I'm Tiffany. I have some tips for you on how to quit smoking like I did. First, I did some reading about it. I found a lot of great advice on how to quit smoking and picked out the ways I thought would work best for me. I started by setting a quit date. Then I threw out my ashtrays, lighters, and matches. I did other things too, like exercising more, and it worked. But I'd still get cravings, especially on long car rides. To help me with that, I put a picture of my mother in my car. She died of lung cancer from smoking cigarettes when I was only 16. Now I have a 16-year-old daughter. That picture of my mother reminds me that I don't want to miss all the things my daughter is going to do in her life, including turning 17.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM, WEGLFM.com. You might be watching our YouTube live stream on the WEGL YouTube page. If you haven't checked that one out, go ahead and do that. You can watch our video on demand as soon as the show wraps up today. And you'll want to go back and watch Uniform Factor if you missed it. We got some great visuals to provide some accoutrements to our commentary, if you will. You can also follow the station at WEGL_AU on Twitter, Instagram, and now TikTok, if you can believe that. Yeah. And then you can follow us, Compact Discourse, right here at CDiscAU if you want to tweet at us. If you got a hot take about those Kansas uniforms, we want to hear it, or anything else we've talked about on the show. Shoot me a tweet at CDISCAU, and we'll be sure to get back to you. You You can also call into the show at 334-844-9345. That's 334-844-WEGL on your touch-tone keypad. And with that, we will jump right back into the show. We still got Alex. We still got Daniel. We still got Bay Marks hanging out in the Bradley Basin studios this morning. I know we're all excited for this weekend of college football. I'll go ahead and start with Bay, and I'll ask him to also preview what you guys are going to talk about on the scoreboard. Auburn's longest tenured sports show, WEGL's rather. But
National award winning.
Yes, I mean, right up there with the best of them. So I'll hand it over to you, Bay.
Well, on the scoreboard today, we will be previewing, obviously, Auburn's game at Penn State. Going to review a little bit of Auburn and Alabama State. Not much to really look into, but really going to look forward to the college football slate this weekend. Going to catch up on Week 1 in the NFL and Daniel's Saints pummeling my Packers and, several other NFL games to look forward to this weekend, Thursday Night Football, all that good stuff. So like Jack said, that's from 2 to 3 today on WEGL right here where you're listening to Compact Discourse. But in terms of Auburn-Penn State, obviously – this is going to be huge for Auburn football. This game obviously being scheduled when Gus Malzahn was the head coach at Auburn. And as we all know, Brian Harsin is now in the driver's seat as of Christmas Eve of last year. So Brian Harsin with the fast start going 2-0 against two very bad opponents, to say the least. I think this could be a huge statement win for Auburn to come out and say one of two things. A, even though we played teams that were that bad, we are this good. And B, Brian Harsin is a legit good coach who has legit athletes around him and great coaches around him. So it's hard to really start where you need to look for in this game. I mean, Penn State's got a great front seven. They're also going to run the ball a lot, do some stuff out in the flats. Auburn's defense is going to have their front seven's work cut out for them. But then again, you got Tank Bigsby and you have new freshman Jarquez Hunter. And if Sean Shivers can play, those three guys are really going to have a day trying to run the football. And Bo Nix, I mean, we saw his freshman year, he played at Texas A&M, his first true road game, played in the Swamp, and Jacob Hillman said that is the loudest stadium he's ever been in his life. And then he also played in Death Valley. And not to mention he played in Sanford Stadium and Bryant-Denny last year. So I think having Bo Nix when Penn State has a fifth-year quarterback in Sean Clifford, I think that's a huge advantage for Auburn. And I think Auburn will be able to handle some of that noise in Happy Valley. It's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think, for this game, I'm going to take a bit of a different approach, perhaps. I think, these next two games, and it's not, to say whatever happens afterwards means to sound the alarm bells, but this game and then the game against LSU are very pivotal games for Brian Harsin to sort of establish what his tenure at Auburn will be like, because to face the reality of it, excluding College Station, from 2013 to 2020 or 2020, the defining character, one of the defining characteristics of Auburn football was laying an egg on the road.
Absolutely,
they've done it in every. I mean, you can pick. I mean, even in
Georgia, didn't win LSU, Bama.
Even in 2013, that amazing season, they looked awful against LSU because that was even on my birthday. And I remember watching it, and I was like, they did. That was the worst game. That was the worst they looked all season by far, and excluding College Station because. Auburn still hasn't lost at College Station yet, which is still bizarre to me. But the fact is that the offense has looked bad on the road consistently in pretty much every road environment they've been in since 2013. That's just the reality of it. And I think, even a loss in the whiteout at Penn State, if it looks if the team just looks better, it legitimately will set the tone for that, okay, we're going to go on the road in one of the most hostile environments in college football, and we're not going to, get Derek Brown carrying a fumble to the 30 and end up having to punt the football, which is stuff that happens consistently throughout. You can pick any. I mean, the 2016 game with Shaun White against Georgia is the game that most people will cite above all else because that Georgia team was probably the worst road team they've lost to of the teams they played in those past. And I think these are just very important to sort of establish, hey, this is not an Auburn thing. This was the previous tenure's thing, and I'm a new coach with a new program, basically doing something different. And I think that's very important. Now, certainly a win above all else is bigger than anything, but I really think this is just a big opportunity for him because you do have, Georgia and Alabama at home, big games, of course, and you've got A&M on the road. But again, with that whole College Station thing, I don't even know how to judge those games. But these two games are really, this has been the defining characteristic, or one of them. And I think this is an opportunity to sort of set the tone and say, this tenure, however long he's going to be here, will be different.
Well, and that's where I'll pick up is, I mean, I was talking to my girlfriend Jordan. I was talking to her dad after the Akron game, and again, it was Akron, probably the worst FBS team in football right now.
Yeah.
And he asked me because he wasn't able to watch the game. He said, "How did we look?" I said, "I'm gonna be honest, Mr. Allen." I was like, "We looked a lot cleaner." Yeah. Now against Alabama State, Auburn did have a lot more penalties. Didn't look as clean, especially in the first half. Third quarter, though, my God.
Yeah.
But I think that also comes with Brian Harsin and that new coaching staff. And I truly believe, and I'm going to stick by this until after Penn State and even probably after LSU, that Auburn has a new juice in the athletic department right now with Brian Harsin. And I think that was a Gus Malzahn thing. I truly think it was, because even under Tommy Tuberville and sometimes under Gene Chizik, Auburn would not play that bad on the road. I mean, especially after 2013 and 2014, if Auburn had a big game on the road in a hostile environment, I mean, you could just kiss that one goodbye.
Again, unless it was College Station. I mean, it was just every single year.
Yeah, so, I mean, I truly think that was something with the old staff. I think that was kind of a trend of a lot of nerves on the road and not knowing what to call, not knowing what scheme to provide, and kind of going off that Jordan-Hare juice. I think that was a big thing with Gus. I think Brian Harsin understands that and understands that it's new with him.
Exactly.
New staff.
And I completely agree. I think that was uniquely to Gus, but I still think this is a very important game for Harsin to be like, hey, guys, I'm different. Because Harsin has not had a great, first year of hire in terms of PR. He just hasn't. He's had a lot of negative flack from people. And regardless of whether or not that's justified, I'm not going to go on a 20-minute rant about that. But this is a chance to really, get a big PR boost, essentially.
Well, and I was going to say, and that was what I was going to point out, was a lot of people are doubting, like, he came from Boise. Like, but if he wins against Penn State and goes and cracks a streak against LSU and Death Valley and Tiger Stadium, I mean, what else are people going to say about him?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he has been recruiting more lately compared to what he was doing over the summer. That was a big concern, was he wasn't recruiting towards the end of the dead period. And then a lot of people were saying he's been at Boise, he hasn't played any big teams or won in big situations. If Brian Harsin beats Penn State and wins in Death Valley within 2 of the next 3 weeks, there's not going to be much else people are going to say about him until Iron Bowl weekend or even Georgia weekend.
And additionally, I would say if it doesn't happen, now is not the time to sound the alarm bells, especially in a coach's first year. Because people love to do that. But Tommy Tuberville, for example, who was the coach for 10 seasons, was 5-6 in his first season.
Yeah,
that was not indicative of how he would be as a coach. The only time he had the same amount of wins was his last season, and that was 9 years after the fact.
So well, now it could be huge for his first year, though.
Exactly. Absolutely. But if it doesn't, now's not the time to start sounding the alarms and going on the coaching search again, because I know people are dramatic about it. But, I just think, this is a very pivotal moment to set the tone for his tenure. Will Auburn under Harsin be different than the Auburn of the past 8 years on the road?
Is there any pressure to do well in Harsin's first year based on how well Malzahn did in his first year?
I don't think so. I think just because people knew Malzahn had been in the D1 level, Malzahn had been at Auburn, he'd been around Arkansas, and Brian Harsin's been at the D1 level for a long time, but I think a lot of people knew what you were getting out of Gus Malzahn, especially with his offense in 2010. So I think a lot of people had a little bit of higher expectations for him. So I think the pressure isn't as hard right now on Brian Harsin.
And Gus's first year is an anomaly. No coach has ever – that was the biggest turnaround in the history of college football, and it will probably stand for as long as –
Unless the team goes 0-12 and then it turns around and goes 15-0.
Unless Akron wins a national championship next year, that'll be the – I mean, seriously. And so, I mean, if anybody makes those comparisons, that is just unjustified in my opinion, because what Gus Malzahn did was historic by any means. And I think, I do think Harsin should get a bowl game. I think Auburn should get at least 6 wins because I think they have the talent to do so. But I think anything
the schedule already spotted them too. So
exactly. So anything below that, I think, is maybe a bit more cause for concern. But even then, it is the first year, and Alabama was not a national powerhouse in Nick Saban's first year. They lost to Louisiana Monroe
and Auburn.
Exactly. And now, again, that was not the time to sound the alarm bells then either. They were still better than previous years, but still, they had some bad moments.
I like how you mentioned Nick Saban because a lot of people do refer to Brian Harsin as having a younger Nick Saban vibe about him and the way he runs his program.
I think Bay's been reading too much AL.com.
I've been reading. Hey,
yeah,
come on now. But I can kind of see it though. They do have similar program strategies and how they run things and.
I mean, you just pull that quote Harsin said, if people don't like the environment they're going to, then don't get on the plane. It's something Gus would never have said in 8 years.
Gus Gus would have said something about having a good practice.
Like, no, legitimately,
Have a few guys banged up.
that's not a major criticism on Gus. I don't really care, but that does show that this is a very different. This is a very different
culture
coach.
change.
Exactly. It's just different.
Really good practice today.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, we are going to have to say goodbye to Bay Marks. But thank you so much for coming on
Thanks,
the show,
Jack.
Bay.
Had
Very
fun.
excited to listen to the scoreboard this afternoon, as I always enjoy doing. You're listening to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. We got Jacob Hillman coming up later on this hour. We might have Davis joining us back in the studio for the next segment. You never know what's going to happen on Compact Discourse, so you got to stay tuned. Keep that dial right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. We'll be back in about 2 minutes after this quick PSA break.
So, Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time.
What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. I opened a 401k.
So you're giving up? Just like that?
Giving up on what?
On getting an inheritance from a distant relative.
Don't you think if there were a billionaire in the family, we'd know about it by now?
Listen to me. We are one phone call away from riding horses on our own private polo grounds. One call from christening yachts, having a butler, using summer as a verb.
How do you figure?
Look, everyone's got a rich uncle somewhere. It's statistics. So the best thing you can do is just prepare for the inevitable.
Right, which is why I thought maybe it would be smart to take control of my finances. You know, start using a budget, get out of debt, set some retirement goals.
Budgets? Debt? You watch your mouth. Retirement shouldn't be a goal for us. It should be a way of life.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. I'm your host, as always, Jack Hart, joined alongside Alex Houston, who's been hanging out with me since 8 a.m. this morning, if you can believe that. We also got Daniel, who's been put through the same treatment, so prayers up for those guys having to deal with me for over an hour and a half at this point. Now, all right, we're going to jump right back into the show. Bay Marks had to hit the road, but we are joined by the other half of the scoreboard, Jacob Hillman. Jacob, how are you doing this fine Thursday morning? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. A little tired, but ready. General Kenobi.
It was looping. Sorry,
General Kenobi.
It's out of my hands. They played 4 times, one for each hand.
Ready to get on the plane tomorrow morning and head to Happy Valley in Pennsylvania, but it's going to be interesting, I think, with just based off the Twitter beef that's been occurring.
Percolating.
Yeah, just everyone's been stirring the pot.
A big spoons on Twitter this weekend.
It'll be interesting. I think that the in-person interactions will be much better, but we will find out whenever we arrive. As I believe, wait, Alex, are you going?
No, I'm not.
Daniel's going. Daniel's going. So 3 out of 4 of us are going.
This is Auburn's first Big Ten road game in 90 years, as I believe I've been.
Was it a Wisconsin?
I've been marketed.
I think it was 1931.
I have no follow-up facts. I don't read the articles.
You're correct, though.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into our college football segment of the week before we get on to Thursday night football later on in the show. And with that, we're just going to jump right in. I'm going to give you who's playing in the top 25 and what we can expect this weekend. Let's jump right into it. All right, at 11 a.m., because Fox would rather show regular season baseball than one of the biggest rivalries in college sports, it's Nebraska at Oklahoma in Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma. Let's see if Scott Frost can get his 13th win. All right, it is New Mexico, the Lobos, treading to College Station to take on number 7 A&M. Let's see if they can score some points this week against a middling opponent. Cincinnati's hitting the road and heading to Bloomington, Indiana to take on the Hoosiers. That is at 11 a.m. Central. You can also catch Virginia Tech hitting the road as well to Country Roads in West Virginia. That one's at 11 as well, so a tough road game for the Hokies. Coastal is hitting the road to take on Buffalo as well, so a lot of road games in the top 25 this weekend. Coastal taking on Buffalo at 11 a.m. Michigan State is going to travel to South Beach to take on number 24 Miami. Miami's favored in that one by a touchdown. Northern Illinois will be playing Michigan, as Michigan is favored by 4 touchdowns in that one. That one is also at 11. Moving on to your 1:30 games, Purdue is heading to Notre Dame Stadium, where the Irish barely hung on against the Rockets of Toledo last week. Notre Dame favored by a touchdown in that one. The big game in the Swamp, SEC on CBS. Alabama heads down to the Swamp to play Florida. Ben Hill Griffith Stadium will be 85 degrees and partly cloudy in the Swamp for that one, so expect a steamy one there, as Alabama's favored by 2 touchdowns in that one. Kent State will head to Kinnick to get waved goodbye by Iowa, who is favored by 3 touchdowns in that one. Georgia Tech will head to Memorial Stadium to play against Clemson, number 6 in the land. Tulsa will be traveling to Ohio State. Ohio State looking to bounce back after that loss to Oregon last weekend. Arkansas will host Georgia Southern. Arkansas coming off a big win against Texas. They are now ranked number 20. Georgia opening up their conference schedule by hosting South Carolina. They're still number 2 in the land. They are favored by 31.5 in that one. Oregon, once again, looking to keep that running streak going. They're hosting Stony Brook. Auburn, of course, heading up to Happy Valley to play Penn State. Virginia at North Carolina. Ole Miss will host Tulane, only favored by 14 in that one. Ranked matchup, Pac-12 after dark. Arizona State versus BYU at 9:15 Central. Iowa State is traveling to Vegas to play UNLV. Brock Purdy will be starting in that one. And lastly, it is Fresno State at now number 13, UCLA. UCLA is favored by 11 in the Rose Bowl at 9:45 on Saturday night. And that is your top 25 rundown. Everyone's playing on Saturday this week, so easy to keep track of.
Well, let me tell you, that late night slate is going to be a fun one. Arizona State, BYU, Iowa State to Vegas, and then Fresno State, who has put up a lot of points, goes to the Rose Bowl. Not that I think Fresno State will win that game, but I think they can put up some numbers and probably.
We've seen a lot crazier things happen.
I mean, Fresno State almost beat Oregon.
That's true. Yeah.
Fresno State could win the Pac-12.
This is outside. One more thing. This is also outside the top 25, but I think Hawaii. This is the week. Yes, 11:30.
Yeah, this is the.
Let's go. I'll be up till 3 a.m. watching that game.
Oh Lord,
can't wait.
Please don't do that.
Why would I not? This is a rare occurrence, Alex. Do you not like college football?
What kind of question is that?
Obviously, you're not willing to stay up till midnight to watch a Hawaii game.
Now, make no mistake, if Hawaii...
A game that starts at midnight, mind you.
Yeah, look, I'm sorry, but I'll pass on that one. I'll be watching the rest of it. I'll be,
Well, whenever that game goes to 5 overtimes and it's the best game of all time, I'll be laughing.
Well, Jacob,
we'll just watch when we wake up.
I'll just be a little tired because I got the privilege of broadcasting an Auburn volleyball match that day. So
I'll
be a little.
Gosh.
I'll just be a
Bless
little.
your heart.
I'll just be a little exhausted.
Bless your heart that you go get to watch the undefeated Auburn Tigers in Auburn Arena on Saturday
I'm excited
afternoon.
for it. I'm excited for it. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. I am.
I hope you can stay up for the Auburn Penn State game.
Yeah, I plan to. I'm excited for a lot of these games. BYU, Arizona State, one of the games I'm most excited for. BYU's red hot. They beat Utah for the first time in like 11 years. Stormed the field, the whole thing. Now they're back at home again in one of the more underrated environments, I would say, in college football at LaVell Edwards Stadium. So I think that's a pretty exciting contest as well. That I will be staying up for, no doubt about it. And then just going through some of it. Texas A&M against New Mexico, I mean, that's a guaranteed exciting first half of play right there. I mean, do we think Texas A&M scores over 10 points?
What? Yes. New Mexico is horrible.
Hey, they're undefeated right now.
Yeah, but they're not a good program. Look who they beat and by how much.
Hey, all I'm saying is Texas A&M was up by like 3 at half against Kent
Houston
State.
Baptist by 10, and they beat New Mexico State by 9.
The point was it was a joke, Jacob.
It was a terrible joke.
Oh my gosh, everybody's so mean.
I'm sorry, I'm hostile today. That's my bad.
Clearly getting ready for the
Jacob's been tweeting up a storm this morning. I can already tell.
Actually, no, but
some notable games outside of the top 25. You have San Jose State obviously traveling to Hawaii. They're San Jose State's favored by a touchdown. 11:30 p.m. Central Time is your kick on that one. Oklahoma State will be playing at Boise State, another notable game. Texas will be hosting Rice. Stanford, Vanderbilt, battle of the smart schools.
Yeah. You could call it that, which, of course, Stanford did get a big win against USC.
They did.
Clay Helton fired.
We need to get a new trophy for that. It's Duke, Stanford, and crap, who are they playing? You just said
Vanderbilt?
Yes, Vanderbilt.
And Northwestern.
Yeah, we'll get a little group
speaking of
going.
that, the other smart schools are playing. Duke is hosting Northwestern at 3 p.m. Central. So, yeah.
Oh, my God.
A very learned Saturday.
It's nerd weekend.
Mississippi State will be traveling to Memphis as Mississippi State continues to make bizarre road trips.
And did you see how Memphis banned cowbells? Artificial noisemakers are not allowed in the Liberty Bowl this weekend.
Genius.
We'll see how that works out for Memphis.
Very smart move.
For a stadium,
it won't work,
for a stadium whose logo is a literal bell, that is a bold move.
It's just not going to work. Mississippi State fans will find a way.
I mean, do they get him into Auburn? Because
yeah.
I guess I don't recall being at Auburn. Well, I don't recall hearing it
the
much.
last time Mississippi State came to Auburn, they didn't have much to ring their cowbells about.
Oh yeah, it was like 56 to 7 or something like that. It was bad, wasn't it?
And Booby Whitlow scored a touchdown within like a minute of the game.
That's right. Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah.
All right, USC is going to limp up to Pullman after that
man.
devastating loss and take on a 1-1 Washington State team. Baylor will be traveling to Lawrence to play Kansas. Wake Forest is hosting Florida State, and I think that's it.
I mean,
can't find anything else interesting.
Yeah.
But there's some games tonight, or tomorrow night rather. Illinois and Maryland in a Big Ten matchup, and then Louisville and UCF in a ye old American Conference matchup.
That'll be an interesting one.
No, it won't. Gus will put up 50 on them.
No, that's exactly why it'll be interesting.
I mean, that's normal Gus against a bad, not conference opponent, but a Power 5 school that's really bad. It's like the Mississippi State game a few years ago. When Mississippi State was not good, he'll put up 50 on them.
There is a game tonight. The Bobcats of Ohio, who are 0-2, are traveling to Cajun Field in Lafayette, Louisiana, to take on the Raging Cajuns. The Cajuns are favored by 3 touchdowns.
I'm disappointed in Louisiana.
Yeah.
They should have beat Texas. Not should have, but I predicted them to.
They shouldn't have lost by 20.
And they should not have only won by 3 against Nicholls State.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing to see because so far Billy Napier's program has been great, but right now it seems less so. Again, they could certainly rally. We've seen programs have bad starts and then rip off 10 straight wins.
Look at their future schedule. Their next 3 weeks, pretty easy. And then they host Appalachian State. Then it gets pretty easy until they travel to Troy and Liberty.
Yeah, and I mean, they avoid Coastal Carolina, but we'll probably run into them in the Sun Belt Championship game because it's Coastal Carolina, which I will say in regards to that, 11 a.m., we got some games there, but if people can get a chance to watch Coastal Carolina, I'd honestly encourage it. They were a very fun team to watch. I would compare them to, and this is not meant to be in terms of how good they are.
How bad is this going to be?
No, it's not in how good they are. It's just in how unique their offense runs. They run very much like a 2013 Auburn where they just caught people by storm. Well, I watched their BYU game last year and a couple of their games, and they run a very different style of offense compared to everybody else. Exactly.
It's a wing tee out of a shotgun.
Exactly, and it's just unique, and it's not something you see, and it's really fun to watch. And they're very good. Make no mistake about it. They returned, I think, most of their starters, if not all of them. I'm not entirely certain on the amount, but it's just really fun to watch. And if you got anybody listening has a chance to watch that game, I'd recommend it because there's a fun team to watch, and they're good. So.
I did find 2 more interesting games. In a game where both teams desperately need to win, the Golden Gophers of Minnesota are traveling to play in Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado against the Buffaloes. That's a 11 a.m. local time kick, 12 Central. And then in a very close game, the 2-0 Nevada Wolfpack are heading to Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple, to take on a 2-0 Kansas State team. Nevada is only favored by 1 in that one, so that should be a pretty close game at 1 p.m.
Unfortunately, both of those games are not easy to watch. You either have to pay for Nevada and Kansas State, or you have to go out west for Minnesota, Colorado on the Pac-12 network.
Well, Kansas State
tickets as low as $20.
No, but Kansas State's on ESPN Plus. Wouldn't it just on the app?
You get to pay for that.
I thought it was ESPN 3 you had to pay for.
ESPN Plus you have to pay for.
Okay, that's my bad.
$5.99 a month.
You can always watch Notre Dame on Peacock if you have that.
That made me so angry. I went on the NBC Sports app last week, and I was like, where is it? And I was like, it's the only game that's on Peacock.
You guys
this
got to
season.
find y'all's way to find those games.
I've been
I watched it.
I've actually been kind of
watched it.
I've been pleased.
Jacob, what are you advocating for?
I watched it. I'm just saying.
I've been
watched
very
it.
pleased with Peacock, actually. I watched the Notre Dame game on Peacock, and I also watched the Sunday Night Football game on Peacock. No issues. It's a nice change of pace. I'll say that. to allude to the same thing Hillman's alluding to.
That's fair.
All right, well, we're going to head to a quick break, and when we come back, we've got a lot to talk about, including Jacob Hillman's take on what is going to transpire this weekend in Happy Valley. We also got Daniel, who's traveling up there as well, so 3 of us are heading up to a hostile environment, if you want to call it that, in Pennsylvania. So we're excited to talk about that on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM, WeagleFM.com, Eagle Eye TV, or the WEGL YouTube page. However you may be joining us today, thank you so much for listening and watching.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. I improved my credit score.
You're kidding, right?
No.
How are we supposed to be the bad boys of electro synth pop if you're out there being responsible? The band is about to be discovered. This is our year.
Yeah, you've been saying that for a while now.
You think anyone in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was worried about their credit score?
I never really thought that.
Of course they weren't. Rock stars aren't supposed to think about that kind of stuff. We're supposed to think about how many guitars we've smashed, write aggressively sensitive power ballads, start questionable fashion trends, tragically break up and blame creative differences.
All right. I thought maybe it was time to take control of my finances, you know? Start using a budget, get out of debt, set some goals.
A budget? Debt? Set some goals? Listen, I knew that we'd have our creative differences, but I was hoping they'd involve a little more scandal.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM, WEGLFM.com, or however you may be watching or listening to us today. We thank you for doing so on this fine, drizzly Thursday morning. Of course, it is the bottom of the hour, so it is time for your Auburn, Alabama weather report. Right now it's 76 degrees, and rain showers are continuing. A little bit windy as well, as 8-mile-per-hour winds are emerging out of the east-southeast. We're looking at thunderstorms all the way through the weekend and into next Wednesday, so plan accordingly. Also, if you're heading up to Happy Valley, like me and Hillman and Daniel are, be advised that there is a 50% chance of rain in State College on Saturday, so plan accordingly, and go Tigers. Welcome back to the show, guys. Jacob, Daniel, Alex, how are we feeling about this weekend?
We're going to win.
I'm not that confident. I'm optimistic because I still don't know what Bo Nix is going to do on the road. That's my issue right here. Because
that's a fair concern.
We haven't seen him do anything on the road.
In a true road game.
With that being said, 2019, his first ever road game in front of 100,000 plus people. Auburn underdogs by 4 points to Texas A&M, and Auburn won. It looked handedly, then at the end things got a little spicy, but I mean, I think Bo Nix performed okay in that game, and it gave everyone confidence going into
He had a lot of help.
He did. Yes, he did.
He'd played well, but he had help.
And I don't think that's going to be enough this week. I think Bo Nix is going to have to perform like he did, not like he did week one, but if he does what he did week one, he's not going to go 20 for 22. He's going to go like he should, 70% completion percentage, no interceptions, and you're not going to be just dinking and dunking the ball. You're going to be getting passes downfield, intermediate routes.
So let me say this. How short do you think Bo Nix's leash will be this week? What do you think it would take for us to see TJ Finley or even Demetrius Davis coming in?
That's not going to happen.
Not at all.
The leash is Georgia.
Yeah, the leash is if he plays bad against Penn State and plays bad against LSU, expect something different against Georgia. That's what I would say as well. I mean, because I think, one, if the whiteout is as mythical as Penn State fans would have us believe.
I don't think you understand. Michigan did call a timeout on the first play of the game.
Well,
I don't know if you've heard about this.
I
don't know if you've heard about this.
I guarantee you they are going to try to recreate that. And what I'm not going to guarantee, but what I hope happens, is St. Bigsby breaks off a 40-yard run.
If I may bring up a point about that moment, that seems like it's the greatest moment in Penn State football for the last 10 years because you can't talk about the last 30. But anyway,
Anyway, I know what you're
Anyway,
saying,
so in that moment, everybody's like, "Wow, this is so amazing, guys! Look at this incredible moment!" And they blasted Mo Bamba from every loudspeaker in the stadium until there were 4 seconds left on the game clock. Which, if Auburn wanted to, we could blast any song we wanted in the Iron Bowl until the final 4 seconds. Then say, "Ha ha! Alabama's quarterback couldn't get a snap off and had to call a timeout." It wasn't. I don't think it was necessarily due because the fans were that loud, as much as them blasting music from every loudspeaker they had in the stadium.
So here's the thing. They also, because I think it was a cool moment because it just got everyone jacked up. Now it's overkill. It's overkill.
Yeah.
It's not as cool anymore.
Exactly. I thought it was cool in the moment as well. Yes.
But I also just think Michigan just was not like the quarterback wasn't trying to make any signal change or anything. He was just kind of standing there.
Yeah, that's on Shea Patterson, but that's a whole. I don't know. I'm just like. I think the whiteout is really cool. I do. I certainly want to go to one. I plan on going to a Penn State game when they play Ohio State for the whiteout because I think it'd be a really cool thing to be in the environment for Penn State. I really do. I think it's cool. But like to act as if it is Death Valley at night when it is not. They are 8-8 in whiteout games. Les Miles, as of 2011, was 29-1 in night games at Tiger Stadium. That's not 29-10. That's not 29-8. That's not 29-9 like Penn State at whiteout games. 29-1. LSU overall is winning 75% of their night-out games in their history. 75%. That is an absurd number, and it is also 10 percentage points higher than their day games. That deserves the mythos rather than the whiteout game.
So to make you disappointed, I'm also thinking that Auburn LSU is going to be a night game. Because
Seriously?
Alabama Ole Miss will be the 2:30 CBS game.
No.
Yeah. Ole Miss is 16th in the country.
Oh, my God.
Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban. And Alabama.
Okay, but that's fair. But still, at this point, like, I mean, I think the whiteout's really cool, but I don't get it.
Look, it's
to what it's all.
It's
like,
a spectacle,
it
and
is.
that's what college football is about.
True, I agree.
College football, you'll see the arguments anytime there's a debate on Twitter. What's better, college football or NFL? I'm sure we all agree that college football is better, but there are those out there that say the product is terrible. Well, that's because those people don't. They probably didn't go to a major university like Auburn or Penn State where game day is such an event.
Yeah.
They probably went to a smaller school that didn't quite have a prestigious football program. Whereas that's what we think. We love spending all Saturday just on campus, listening to the band, all the hype videos, just everything about it is what we love. Whereas those people are looking at the product on the field. So
no, that's fair.
That's why
fair.
the whiteout is so special. I think
again,
I'm looking forward to it.
I know. I think it's great. Honestly, the only reason I hesitate on going is one, because first of all, long trip, and two, I would rather experience the first whiteout game for me when I can actually root for Penn State rather than being in the. That's just good. That just seems a lot more fun to me as a fan. But again, I'll still be watching the game, of course. I don't know. It's just it's getting a little ridiculous rather than just saying, wow, this is really cool, guys. It's just turned into this ridiculous animosity back and forth between everybody saying it doesn't matter versus it actually is the most hostile environment ever and nobody seems to understand. I'm like, guys, just agree. It's really cool.
We haven't really talked about football this week. That's the thing.
Exactly.
We haven't talked about the game. We've talked about the atmosphere.
Exactly.
And that's all it's been.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think in terms of the game, I would like to see Auburn break tradition of the last 2 years of Bo Nix's career and not have him throw it 35 times on the road, because I don't think he needs to. And if he does, it's because Auburn attempts to run the football and fails. But
well, I mean, Penn State allowed 145 yards rushing per game, which one of those games was Ball State. The other was Wisconsin, who we know about their rushing performances over the last decade. That being said, we don't know about Wisconsin yet. We don't know how good they are.
True.
And a lot of wasted opportunities as well, because Penn State is top 10 in the country in red zone defense. But when you watch the film, Brian Hartson said it last night on Tiger Talk, they wasted a lot of opportunities, Wisconsin did.
Yeah.
So it's not, we don't know. The Penn State offense is 90th in the country in red zone offense. So naturally, we're going to get a 45-38 game. But it just, I really don't know about this Penn State team like we don't know about this Auburn team.
Yeah.
We are learning a lot this week.
I don't really know how to phrase this question in a great way, but do you think the burden of proof is more on the offense, or not burden of proof, but rather the weight of responsibility to come away with a win this weekend is on the defense or the offense? Because I think if the defense gets in there, gets a couple turnovers, and sets up the offense, I think that's going to be much more impactful than the offense getting the run game established and the defense collapsing.
I will say from the fan perspective, as in what the reaction will be, I don't think any pressure at all will be put on the defense because the defense has, 2016 and 2019 was made bearable because the defense stopped everybody they played. The one exception being the Iron Bowl in 2019, but they stopped everybody, and
They scored twice in that Iron Bowl.
Exactly. They scored two touchdowns on that. So I don't think the fans will put that burden on them because what people are waiting for, as I mentioned when I was talking with Bay about it earlier, is the offense needs to show up because it hasn't since on road games. They don't.
Because of how much pressure's on Bo Nix, that's
Exactly.
the whole offense.
Yeah.
And the way the defense performs will be important because they're going to have to tackle well. Because I really don't think Wisconsin or Ball State tackled well against Penn State. So I have faith in, especially the linebackers, especially the defensive line, a little bit less so the defensive backfield in making those tackles just because of what I saw in the first two games. I do think that the defensive backfield settled in a little bit in the second half against Alabama State.
Yeah, definitely.
But I really don't know if that's going to translate into Saturday.
I think it's got to be on the offense. I think it's got to be on the running game because, again, I don't know how good Penn State's defense is. Wisconsin gets rushing yards against everybody they play. They've been doing that for 20 years. That's Wisconsin. So I don't know how to pass that judgment. But the fact is, if Hunter, Shivers, and Bigsby are all ready to go, I really think this team needs to rely on that and rely on that running game because maybe Bo Nix is different. Maybe he is having fun. I don't know. But,
Nick Brom said he is.
But
this could be the year.
This is, Bo Nix on the road has not been good, and that's not, again, honestly, he's played in some of those hostile environments on the planet, so I'm not really holding it that much against him, to be honest, because, again, that also could be an indictment on the Malzahn offense, but lean on the running game. Don't lean on Bo Nix as these teams have in the past. I don't want to see him thrown it 35 times unless they attempt to run the football and Tank gets negative 10 yards, to be honest. If he's getting yardage, Shivers, and Hunter can get decent yardage, they should lean on it. Don't be afraid to, especially when you've got three very talented running backs who each bring something very different to the table. I just think I would like to see them lean on that more than passing it so much because that's not this team's strength right now. Maybe it will be when their receivers get more comfortable, but I don't know if it's...
Here's what I'll say about that. I think that it's going to be a week-to-week basis.
No, I agree.
Because look at week 1. Shedrick Jackson went off. Week 2, Demetrius Robertson went off. And I think it's going to be similar to that where every week it's going to be kind of a different focus. Depends on the game plan.
No, I certainly agree. I was just saying, strictly, I do not believe this passing game will be where it's at because it's just a lot of new wide receivers, a lot of inexperienced wide receivers. The most experienced guy isn't even from Auburn. He transferred in from Georgia. And Shedrick Jackson, who's I think he's a junior or is he a senior?
He's a senior, and he broke his career high in the first half against Alabama or Akron. With 4 catches.
Exactly. The experience is very limited. I think mid-season they could really hit their stride, especially as they head to College Station. But right now, I don't think it is their strength. Again, I think they're good, and I think they have a chance to be. But right now, in games like when you're going to Happy Valley, you need that one guy that you can lean on. I don't know if Bo even has that guy right now because he's just hasn't played with them that much. Which again, that's not an indictment on any of them, but. Right now, lean on what you've got. And you've got 3 very talented running backs, 2 of which have a lot of experience. So I just think I'd like to see him lean on that.
I would really like to see Bo use John Samuel Schenker and his tight end.
He's another one that hit his career high, not in the first half, but in that game against Akron. And we've seen the tight ends utilized, but not in the passing game as much. It's only been John Samuel Schenker.
Yeah.
He's the only tight end that's been utilized. He's an honorary captain this weekend, and we'll see what happens. But I think that could also be we're not trying to show too much against Akron and Alabama State.
Exactly.
So we might see Brendan Fraser split out right. We might see John Samuel Schenker run up the seam from the slot position. We'll see what happens on Saturday with the tight end position.
This will be a very interesting game to really see where the Auburn offense is under Harsin, because these two games haven't really seen that, but this will be it.
We will see what happens in Happy Valley on Saturday. So excited to get to that. We will continue talking about Auburn and Penn State on the other side of this break, as well as previewing Thursday Night Football, where the Team Redacted will be taking on the New York Giants. So don't go anywhere. We'll continue our discussion in a little bit.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time. What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. I opened a 401k.
So you're giving up? Just like that?
Giving up on what?
On getting an inheritance from a distant relative.
Don't you think if there were a billionaire in the family, we'd know about it by now?
Listen to me. We are one phone call away from riding horses on our own private polo grounds. One call from christening yachts, having a butler, using summer as a verb.
How do you figure?
Look, everyone's got a rich uncle somewhere. It's statistics. So the best thing you can do is just prepare for the inevitable.
Right, which is why I thought maybe it would be smart to take control of my finances. You know, start using a budget, get out of debt, set some retirement goals.
Budgets? Debt? You watch your mouth. Retirement shouldn't be a goal for us. It should be a way of life.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. Final segment of the week, so let's get right after it. I'm your host, Jack Hart, joined alongside Alex Houston and Daniel Locke. Jacob Hillman joining us once again to wrap up our college football discussion before moving on to what is happening tonight in the nation's capital. So we are going to jump right into things. We've got resident Auburn football expert, president of the Auburn Jungle. We got resident Washington football team fan, and we've got Daniel Locke, newcomer to the show. So a great panel to discuss the goings-on of tonight and this weekend. Closing thoughts on Penn State?
I mean,
should
we give predictions?
Yes. I won't give scores, but I'll give predictions.
I'll give a score.
I don't want to give a score, but I'll give margin of victory.
Okay, fair enough. You can say who wins, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I do think Auburn gets it done, and I think it's going to be a close game, touchdown game. So Auburn by 7. That's my prediction. I do think Bo Nix improves. I don't think he's going to be at the level on the road that we want him to be at, but it's going to be enough to get it done because I do think that the running game will be successful enough where Nix moves towards that, and then LSU, that's where it's really going to come down to. He's going to need to perform there. And, of course, LSU, not that good of a team, so we'll see exactly what happens. But I think Saturday, Nix does enough. The running game shines. Auburn by 7.
And for me, I am going a different way. I think Auburn is going to lose this game in a close one, 20-17. I think it'll go down to the wire, and I think Auburn will respond with a late touchdown in the fourth quarter, but Penn State in that wideout will have a score late to win the game. It'll be close. The Auburn offense will look better than it has on the road in past years. It'll still be a step in the right direction against a good team and their very hostile environment, but I think Penn State's going to get the win 20-17.
Daniel?
20-17 Auburn, 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals. We get it done. Very, very, very big win for Brian Harsin.
Yeah, and I think it can't be overstated how big of an opportunity this is for Auburn. Whether or not they capitalize it, completely different story. But Brian Harsin has been gift wrapped a very good opportunity if he is to go out and execute on it. I will say this game to me smacks of 2019 Florida, as much as I hate to say it. I hope the execution is different by Bo Nix, because I think one or two balls bounce differently, and Auburn comes out of the swamp with a win in that one. But I like the defense to get a couple turnovers, big plays, hopefully. A strip sack or two would be just fantastic on the team's morale, and would be great at quieting that crowd. And I think that's going to be, you got to take the crowd out of it. You gotta make them pay for talking so much trash this week.
Naturally.
And that's going to do it for our discussion on college football. If you would like to get your opinion on the air, you can go ahead and call in at 334-844-9345, and we would love to hear from you. Or you can tweet at us at CDiscAU. But with that, we are going to throw the ball over to professional football, where tonight it is the New York Giants heading to Landover, Maryland, to play the Washington football team in a battle of quarterback greats, Daniel Jones and question mark? Who's starting?
Taylor Heineke.
Taylor Heineke, the GOAT, I think is how you mean to introduce him.
No, Danny Dimes is the GOAT.
Yeah, this is something. It'll be a very interesting night by any stretch. Daniel Jones, who is 8-19 in his career, has not lost to Washington. He is 4-0.
He has half of his wins against Washington.
Yes,
that's incredible.
I love the NFL. They got so much positive feedback about last week's Thursday night game that they had to make the next one terrible. You can't have good games on Thursday. It's
it very much
the laws
could be a
of
fun
nature.
game.
It could
in
be.
the wrong way.
Yes. Yeah. Back to 2019, Monday Night Football was horrid. It was terrible. I remember there was a point where we thought we might get 2 winless teams on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, it was.
I don't think that ended up happening, but it was terrible. But tonight's game.
This game will be. Go ahead.
2019 first Monday Night Football, Saints-Texans. Will Lutz hits a game-winning field
Well,
goal.
that game was nice, but then after that, it was horrific.
Yeah,
I just didn't even want to watch Monday Night Football.
And this reeks of a lot of the same. I think this game is interesting because a lot of fans are like, "Oh my gosh, if Washington starts 0-2, time to sound the alarm bells." Like they were 2-7 at the Week 11 last year. It doesn't really matter. And I don't mean it doesn't really matter because they should beat New York. I don't think New York is very good at all, and I think Washington is a much better team, to be honest, because I think the Chargers are a very good team, and Washington kept it close last week, despite the fact they lost their quarterback halfway through the game.
What do you think happens with the quarterback situation based on this game? If Washington wins this game, Heineke performs well, do you think they stick with him? And vice versa, if he doesn't perform well, do you think they try to sign somebody?
Heineke is an interesting player because the fact of the matter is he hasn't played bad yet for Washington. Mm-hmm. His game against Tampa Bay was the best performance of a team against the Bucs.
It was gutsy.
That playoffs.
It was gutsy.
Like the Chiefs weren't close, and Rodgers honestly looked worse than Heineke did, which is insane to say, but that's the reality of how it was. And I think everything about Heineke says he shouldn't start. You go get Fitzpatrick, because why would Heineke, a guy from Old Dominion who was studying for his exam when they signed him last year, why would he be a good player? But the fact is, the team rallies around him, and the team plays for him, and he's been good so far. I don't think Chase Young said he could start on any team in the league. That's ridiculous, but that's Chase Young hyping up his quarterback. That's what he's done. Chase Young has taken on that type of vocal leadership role for the team. I'm fine with that. I think it's funny. I think it's going to energize the team. By all means, say that. I don't think he could do that, but the fact is he's been good, and he's been better than a lot of the quarterbacks Washington has had in the last 30 years of quarterback carousel, because that's what's happened.
I mean, Jack and I have experienced the Taylor Heineke experience as a Panthers fan.
I thought he was pretty bad in Carolina.
He wasn't terrible.
I
remember him being okay.
I have little recollection.
I remember it, and he was not. I don't have the stats in front of me, but
I remember that number 8 in blue and black, but I don't remember much about the performance.
Well, he did okay. He did better in that Tampa Bay game
by far,
and even last week in filler roles. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think stop the carousel for now. Leave it to Heineke, and if Heineke's playing good by the time Fitzpatrick comes back, keep Heineke in, because Terry McLaurin has played with 10 quarterbacks in 30 games, which is the most insane thing. And I mean, he even said, "I just want consistency. Whatever it is, he just wants to." He's had a different quarterback every 3 games based on the numbers, which is insane.
The whole the weapons that Washington has on offense, it's insane for them to have wasted them this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Gibson, McLaurin, Logan Thomas, and there's several guys on the bench.
Curtis Samuel, who eventually show up.
Yes, of course I would forget him as a Panthers fan, but it's just those guys you cannot waste this year. Because
Exactly.
I still think that it's Dallas's division to lose, but you've got every piece except quarterback.
Exactly. And that's why I say, stick with Heineke. If it works out, you make the playoffs and you've got a direction to go. If it doesn't, he's horrible and you get to draft a quarterback. Either way, I just don't think the constantly changing and not getting any answer is.
Do you want a quarterback from this upcoming draft?
I don't know who I want. Well, so one thing is, and this is a thing I mentioned to you guys, is that Washington in signing Fitzpatrick this year was not a long-term solution. What Washington's trying to do is they're trying to posture themselves to get a free agent quarterback. They're trying to say, look at the defense. It's good. Look at our weapons. They're really good. Fitzpatrick could showcase them better than any quarterbacks last year could, because the quarterbacks last year did not do a good job of putting that on display. They didn't. Alex Smith had one leg. That's not an indictment on him. He did great, but you couldn't showcase the offense. So right now, this is kind of the, hey, guys who may want to leave your team, look at our team that has everything except a quarterback, as you just mentioned. Not saying it'll work, but I think just keeping Heineke in allows that to happen.
Aaron Rodgers to the Washington football team?
I mean,
a little sunset season.
It's not the craziest idea, really. It's not.
Can't beat the Saints.
That I don't want to talk about that right now because I drafted him in fantasy and he got me a point. But anyway, I think this game is pivotal just to show that they're going in the right direction. I think a win over Daniel Jones is what Ron Rivera needs to be like, hey, guys, at least I'm not – because I think the Giants look miserable. They looked awful last week. And they got a lot of injuries. The defense is coming off a bad week against, Los Angeles Chargers. But Heineke's getting a full week of practice. He's getting more comfortable with McLaurin, who he's always been in all the games he's played. This is an opportunity, and I think Washington needs to seize it. And because they need to get fans to come back to that stadium, because last week that was another thing. It was pitiful.
Hopefully they don't get sewage spilled on them whenever they do return.
Look, I hate that stadium. Everybody hates the stadium. There's not a single Washington fan that actually enjoys that stadium. So right now what Washington's doing is they're buying time to announce. The theory is they're going to announce their new name with new stadium plans.
Is the playing surface at least fixed?
Yes. No.
Okay.
We are no longer the surface that killed RG3. We are no
Yeah.
longer that surface anymore. That is now belonging to San Francisco.
All right.
We've improved.
So tonight, 7:20 p.m. Central Time is your kick.
Yep.
On NFL Network, I believe Washington is favored by 3.5 in this one. They are, of course, playing in the Toilet Bowl itself, FedEx Field. New York Giants traveling to take on the team redacted on Thursday Night Football. So go ahead and check that one out if you are interested in seeing a tire fire. I think is a diplomatic way of putting it.
I'm just saying.
That's fair.
I'm just saying you're on a big high horse for a Panthers fan. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Look,
1-0.
The Jets.
1-0.
Oh, my God.
1-0.
Tune in at noon to see the Panthers and their respective tire fire.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's Sunday. Not looking forward to that.
All right.
Who are y'all playing again?
Saints.
Oh!
Daniel Saints, yeah.
Hey, you know what? Jameis Winston's trainer said to be prepared.
Be prepared.
Be prepared.
Be prepared. That's all you need.
You got to be prepared.
Hey, all I can hope for is
be
he backs
prepared.
up his 5 touchdowns with 5 interceptions this week.
That'd be
Balance it
the
out.
Jameis Bermuda Triangle right
The
there.
turnover bakery is once again open.
His eyes are fixed, bro.
Yeah, the LASIK probably did make a difference.
Eat that dub. All right, if you want a breakdown of the rest of the NFL weekend, you can go ahead and listen to this scoreboard that's coming on at 2 p.m. today right here on WEGL 91.1 FM, WeagleFM.com. However you're listening to Compact Discourse, you can get the scoreboard. We also have a podcast. You can listen PSA break free to this show. Watch our YouTube live stream. You can watch a video on demand. We had Bay Marks join us for Uniform Factor, our favorite segment. So if you want to see the uniforms we talked about, you can watch our YouTube live stream. And then we got Through the Lens coming out tomorrow.
Yes, exactly.
Through the Lens coming out tomorrow with Davis, who joined us earlier in the show. We got Alex on that one as well. They're talking Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi trilogy. So if you love Spider-Man, if you're hyped for the movie coming out December 17th, be sure to check that one out as a primer to get ready for the expansion of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Daniel, ready to go to Penn State this weekend?
I'm so pumped. It's going to be a great weekend.
Yeah, looking at my clock right now, about 24 hours till I gas up the tank and hit the road for Happy Valley. Hillman,
Are you driving?
You afraid to get on the plane?
No.
Okay. No. Yeah, I'm driving. Yeah, me and Tobias are hitting the road tomorrow at 10 a.m.
All I can hope is that this traveling experience is better than the Oregon.
No speeding
traveling
tickets.
experience.
Maybe your Uber will get a speeding ticket.
Oh, gosh. That would be fun.
That'd be pretty. That'd be a story.
It would be
a good story.
It would be the most typical way for my trip to go, is my Uber driver gets.
Anything for a dub.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Daniel, for joining me on the show today.
Hope you guys have a great weekend, and War Eagle as always. And to you, those of you listening, thank you so much for listening to this exciting episode of Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. However you joined us today, whether that be from your radio antenna, weglfm.com, or by listening to our podcast, we would like to remind you that all of our previous episodes are available as a podcast, commercial-free, wherever you get your podcast. Just search for Compact Discourse. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at CDiscAU, that's at CDISCAU, for links to the podcast, important information about the show, and updates. You can also tweet at us to get your voice on the show. You might want to go ahead and follow the station at WEGL_AU on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok to get all the updates about what is going on at WEGL, Auburn's student-run radio station since 1971. And with that, for Jack Hart, Jacob Hillman, Alex Houston, Davis Carroll, Daniel Locke, we had JP, we had Will Root, we had Bay Marks, we had a whole cast of characters on the show this week. We will see you next week, Monday morning, to talk about Auburn's hopeful win against Penn State on Saturday. We'll be back at 8 a.m. Monday morning. Thanks so much for listening. As always, I'm Jack Hart, and as always, War Eagle.
As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know